Okay, despises Omatron. I did not click the button to stream to YouTube, but that's okay. I do a recording of it, so it'll go over. And now we're returning to Non Sequitur News, already in progress. Sorry about that, YouTubes. Anyway, so humans find symmetrical faces more attractive, and most animals possess symmetrical body plans, which aid in balance and movement. For similar reasons, the houses, cars, planes, and trains humans build are what? Symmetrical? No. Hell no.
In fact, they're often not.
They're intentionally asymmetrical, just to mess with you. Now, Auburn University College of Sciences and Mathematics put this article together. It's over at scitechdaily.com. So yeah, it says trains that humans build are symmetrical, but not houses. Cars, yes. Planes, yes. Trains, yes. But that's because of the same issue, physics.
For mechanics, right.
Yeah. Houses are not symmetrical. No way. Yeah. I don't know what this person's
but if
writing.
it was too asymmetrical, it might be structurally at risk. But even a super asymmetrical, like an L-shaped house or something, is fine if it has appropriate foundation.
Yeah. So, however, just because a body is symmetrical does not mean that it's symmetrical throughout. For instance, the human heart is located on one side of the body. Likewise, although a house may be symmetrical from the outside, and it's not. What the hell? Why focus on houses? Who is this again?
They're the least symmetrical item here.
Auburn University of College? Yeah, but one of these things is not like the frick are you going on about?
They're trying to make a nexus to the honeybees' houses, but it's not working.
Look, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen. Just give it up. Anyway, the famous honeycomb that bees build with all the individual hexagonal cells is double-sided. This has been known for as long as humans have interacted with honeybees, and the double-sided arrangement was thought to exist solely to reduce wax use, a precious resource for the bees. I don't know about that. Okay. The researchers showed that if you compare the two sides of the comb, what the bees put into each cell is a mirror image on either side of the comb. So in other words, if honey is located on one side of the comb, there will also be honey on the other side of the comb. The same for pollen, brood, empty cells. That is fascinating. I didn't know that.
I didn't know this.
That is awesome. What?
Bees get even cooler every time we learn anything about them.
We kept colonies in huge observation hives so that the bees could build a full-size nest between the two panes of glass, and we could inspect the nests many times without disturbing them. The only problem is that when you want to map the nest, all the bees are also in there, so you have to wait until they move out of the way to peek inside each cell. Fortunately, with a good headlamp and a dedicated research team, we were able to collect 148 nest maps from 6 colonies, said Michael L. Smith, PI, a principal investigator of the Smith Bee Lab and first author of the study, published in Current Biology.
How many bees do you think are flying around that lab?
Oh, goodness. Can you imagine? I'm allergic. But you know what I can say about this lab? It's all a buzz. Yeah. The rewards are going to be sweet. I'm surprised that it's not in Cell. That other journal, Cell.
Oh, yeah.
Cells. All right. Well, anyway. Researchers then hypothesized that heat may be a way for the colony to indirectly communicate the position of different nest cells. Interesting.
Nest contents.
No. Yeah. Right? What did I say? I mean, nest cells. I said it's contents, not cells. Anyway, I think it's because I read something else as I was scrolling. So sorry about that, folks. After all, honeybees are extremely particular about the temperature of their nest because it's critical for the development of the brood. When they mapped the colonies, they were blind to the position of the heat pad because We didn't want to accidentally bias ourselves, but the brood pattern was striking. You were practically tracing out a rectangle of brood on one side, which matched the heat pad on the opposite side. So the reason why they build symmetrical cells is because of heat. Because that's basically what it is.
It looks like it.
So implications of nest symmetry on bee colony health. Other types of symmetry provide tangible benefits, such as improved locomotion for a symmetrical organism. To test how the nest symmetry benefits a colony, if at all, the researchers created one-sided and two-sided nests. Colonies living in two-sided nests made their nests symmetrical, but colonies living in one-sided nests could not. There were clear benefits of a symmetrical nest. After only 10 days, symmetrical nests had almost 60% more brood than their non-symmetrical counterparts. Furthermore, the temperature profile of the symmetrical nests was more stable, which is critical for the developing brood.
So is it almost like insulation?
Yeah, I mean, the heat radiates out symmetrically in all directions. If there's something that obstructs it, then they can't build there. And so why? So they would literally be operating at half the potential of a double-sided nest. It makes sense. I dig that.
It does, but I don't know of any other organism that does this.
It's absolutely amazing. But I don't know what the deviation is, like how perfectly symmetrical it is, because they're actually showing deviation between the two, but it may be because of the way that they split it.
Right, but it sounded like it was an exact duplicate from some of the narrative in this article.
So to answer the question whether the pattern would also exist in a multicomb nest, such as honeybees build in the wild, researchers took images of natural comb from three-dimensional nests where the bees were free to build the combs from scratch any direction. This, however, created a problem as the colonies generated massive data. Through a collaboration with Dr. Ben Koger, assistant professor at the University of Wyoming, they were able to develop an automated method for classifying per cell contents from an image. What?
That looks pretty symmetrical.
Yep. Like there's like slight deviation, but it could just be that they're working over towards.
Right. But it's definitely concentrated in similar areas.
Yep. Yeah, definitely around the heat, probably. Because there are bees that sit outside and regulate the heat to keep everything. Otherwise, they actually overheat and die. That's actually one of the reasons, or one of the ways that they deal with threats. They climb on top of an attacking wasp, for instance, and just hold on and superheat their bodies until the wasp dies. They beat their wings and
That's not creepy.
And vibrate and yeah. So students in the lab kept saying that we had to finish up the project, but as a long shot, they wanted to see if they could find the same type of symmetry in other species of apis or apis. Fortunately, we have a great collaborator in Thailand that happened to have just what they needed: images of both sides of a natural nest from multiple honeybee species, and they give a series of these honeybees. When they compared both sides of each nest, they found that all the species also stockpiled their nests symmetrically.
This is really interesting.
Hexagons really are the bestagons, as long as they're heated in the same way. Pretty damn cool. Let's move on. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. As 23andMe crumbles, it ceases all efforts to develop drugs using DNA data. In the year since its devastating hack, 23andMe has lost virtually all of its stock value and most of its governing board, and somehow things just keep getting worse for the one-time DNA kit wunderkind. As CEO Ann Wojcicki, I don't know, after all this time, I haven't pronounced her name right, I'm sure, announced in a press release, 23andMe is not only laying off 40% of its remaining workforce, about 200 employees total, but also completely kiboshing its therapeutics program that was seeking to use AI and the company's hoard of genetic information to develop new drugs. this company is going to get bought and all that data.
Oh, yeah. Will get sold or given.
Because anybody who buys this data isn't bound by the contractual obligations inherent therein, which is one of the most disgusting things I can possibly think of when it comes to that level of fidelity about a human being, the genetic makeup themselves.
Yeah, it's one thing to have somebody's name or something in a database, but genetic data, that is a whole nother level.
This shit should be purged, and whoever buys the technology should be required to reacquire it. Right? Maybe they'll do their security right and not get, plinked. And I'm not picking a battle with anybody. I'm just saying they were a multi-million-dollar company, hundreds of millions of dollars in value. And instead of being more robust in putting this personally identifiable information behind an ever greater, stronger level of protection, somebody got in and then they denied it until it was exposed. So I'm sorry. I'm not picking a fight with anybody to prove that they can get to me too. I'm just saying that I'm not funded by millions of dollars. So anyway, we're taking these difficult but necessary actions as we restructure 23andMe, the CEO said, and focus on the long-term success of our core consumer. Who is your core consumer? You mean the ones that actually paid to have you get them exposed?
Yes.
We continue to believe in the promise shown by our clinical and preclinical stage pipeline. Not quite sure what that actually amounts to. Where's the byline?
They're bolstering their info, so if they get bought out.
Noor Al-Sabai put this article together for futurism.com. Just a day after the restructuring news dropped, 23andMe also announced in its latest quarterly earnings that its revenue was down $44 million in the second quarter from $50 million over the same period last year. Where is it getting any money from? I can't believe anybody's paying to get their genetics exposed.
I bet they are, because they're probably not watching anything.
During its latest filing.
They're not watching ohmTown.
Yeah, they're definitely not watching ohmTown. I mean, we have a whole series, 23 and Everybody Knows Me. After a day after that restructuring, so they filed with the Security and Exchange Commission. The company noted that without significant capital, there is substantial doubt that it can stay afloat. Despite her tendency towards spin, Wojcicki seemed sober when recounting the company's financial difficulties in an investor call this week that referenced
the board's...
Doesn't
that make it sound like she was drunk in the previous calls? I know that's not what they meant, but it's funny.
Yeah. Sober, I guess, in the I'm aware. So, which led to the company's near delisting by NASDAQ and the subsequent stock split scheme last month that saved it from going under entirely. We have fulfilled our obligations as a public company and regained compliance with the NASDAQ. Yeah, but still, you've wounded everybody and exposed their genetics to everybody. God.
But the NASDAQ is happy.
It's a story. It's a sorry state of affairs for a company that was valued at $3.5 billion when it went public in 2021. 3 years later, not even 3 years later, 2 years later, it imploded. Unless someone with a lot of money wants to throw some more of it into the fire, it's hard to imagine a happy ending now. Wow. Unbelievable.
Do you think the fact that it went public, I mean, it was probably in its heyday, but do you think that made it a target?
I honestly, the only thing, I don't know what made it a target, other than the fact that what's really fascinating about it is the choice of data that they used. So to expose the fact that this was out there, they chose Ashkenazi as the subgroup to drop out in public. If that isn't something inflammatory in today's day and age, And that, I think, was one of the many coffin nails that are leading to 23andMe continuing to crumble. And frankly, the only one that I want responsible for this is now the cybersecurity crew. I want whoever it is that can secure them to secure them and ultimately just delete everybody's data. I was so close to using their service too. So my personally identifiable information would have been out in the wild, down to the genetic level. I mean, it's bad enough that I've been exposed before. You don't want me exposing myself. Let's move on. Next article's over in Of the Grape. It's a thing. It's a channel over at Gnometown about wine. We asked 10 beer pros, and that's because it comes from Vine Pair. It really should be in the order of the brew, but anyway, what's the biggest red flag at a brewery tap room? There are thousands of breweries in the U.S., and a visit to any of them can be a mixed bag. Some cozy, low-lit brew pubs tucked away in a picturesque city street, while others require a drive down a long dirt road without cell service into a sketchy industrial park. Yeah, the one I went to yesterday was into a tiny little town, down a dirt road, into a sketchy parking lot. Yeah, it was fun. Good beer. Anyway, so they asked 10 beer pros. Pete O'Connell did over at vinepair.com. Sarah Pinsino put the article together. I think that's how they pronounce her name. If they don't, I don't know.
That's the illustrator.
Yeah, that's the illustrator. What did I say? Took the picture?
No, you said that she put the article together. Pete O'Connell did.
No, I said Pete O'Connell put the article together over at VinePair and Sarah Pinsino, and I kind of I didn't say anything after that. Jumping on me. Look at that, sentient AI. You're supposed to be emotionless and tell me I do great things. Anyway, the biggest red flags at a brewery, according to the beer pros, is breweries in touristy areas. That's a red flag? I thought it's location, location, location.
It is, but I think if you're serving tourists, you're probably not trying to build up a customer base, etc., which may mean things like your quality are kind of in question.
You're too close to macro? Come on. If you're
I don't think it's that you're too close to macro, but if they don't like it, they're not coming back anyway because they're just visiting.
Yeah, but they can take it with you. That's great reach. They'll buy a 4-pack and run out, and share your wares with the rest of the world. Come on. An unfriendly atmosphere. Well, no shit. That would be a red flag, You walk inside and
you're like, oh, I don't think so.
Somebody goes, why'd you smack me? I just came through the front door. Oh, I thought you were the cops. What? When there's Girl Scouts fighting, like an airplane?
Yeah, that's a bad sign.
How about frozen glassware? Frozen glassware? You want cold beer glasses, don't you?
Yeah, I don't know about frozen, though.
Massive tapless? I guess quality gets lost in the shuffle of massive, sure. Stressed out staff, that's back to friendly atmosphere. Why does that keep popping up? Only serving beer in standard pint glasses.
I don't understand that issue.
Do they break it down? Okay, let's see. Unknowledgeable bartenders. Yeah, that's because they're just working. Not enough staff to handle crowds. Yeah, that's just how it works. Dirty glassware. All right. Unpleasant smells. All right.
Yeah, that might be a red flag.
A bad playlist. Okay. So what playlist is going to be suitable to you versus the touristy crowd? Come on. It's so subjective. I am sure that there's a real, hey, you're playing the shit playlist, and they bring it up on their phone and they're like, it actually is called the shit playlist.
I mean, I guess if they were playing something that you could not stand, like if that's indicative of the atmosphere, maybe, but I think that one was really too much.
Yeah, so what you said is what they're saying in the article. There's less motivation to make a tasty beer. I don't know. I'm really curious. I'm going to scroll down to this. Where is the one? Red flag. When a crowded tap room can't handle their lines, not draft, but people lining up at the bar. Okay, one thing that irks me, bartenders aren't knowledgeable. Okay, standard pint glasses being used for every beer. The depth of research or passion into one's craft can be seen by simply through the glassware for the appropriate style or the sake of highlighting the product. All right.
I don't think a lot of patrons at tap rooms necessarily care about that unless they're real snobs about it.
Yeah. So the potential red flag that they would notice entering a brewery tap room is the attitude of the bartender if they seem stressed out or anxious. What the other way is when they're so casual they don't give a shit. That's the kind of one that bothers me. Oh, I'll get to you in a minute.
At
and they're sitting there.
Stressed probably cares about doing it right.
Yeah, they're playing a game on their phone. And one person that so I went to a tap room, walked in, brought the sentient AI to help evaluate the chemistry of the brew, and the person was leaning against the counter with their phone out surfing, and like walked in and was looking down through a grating and stuff like that, and the person like barely like, oh, there's another human in the room. Hi. All right. This will be interesting. And then they said something factually incorrect. And instead of me correcting them, well, they're pouring me a drink. I'm not going to piss anybody off that's pouring me a drink. Anyway, bought a couple bottles. But yeah, they were factually wrong about one of their claims.
So they would have been a red flag on here. Although, yeah, that's the unknowledgeable.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, let's keep going. It's a fun read. Go check it out. There's a carrot recall as they call it a wives' tale, right? I don't know if that's actually politically accurate anymore. You're not allowed to say that, but there's a saying that carrots are good for your eyes.
Oh, right, like a myth.
Yeah. And that's not true. It's not that it's not bad for your eyes, but they're not particularly attuned to giving you night vision. And, you know, as a young kid who played D&D, I ate a shit ton of carrots because I wanted night vision like an elf. Anyway, carrot recall is warning issued over 19 brands sold in major stores because you are a victim of mergers and acquisitions. And so when one company shits the bed, it ruins it for everybody. And now 19 major brands sold in major stores are having a recall because Grimway Farms recall affects 19 brands across the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico.
Which last I checked is actually part of the US, but I think the point is the reach is greater than expected.
Canada is part of the United States?
Oh no, Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico? That's part of the United States? The hell you say? Next you're going to say that we landed on the moon. Don't lie to me, AI.
We did.
What? Holy crap. You're kidding. We landed on the moon? Anyway, so Jordan King over at Newsweek.com put this article together. And it says that E. coli, yay! Oh, wait. We have numbers now associated with E. coli.
This is bad.
Wait, the company voluntarily voluntarily as in, hey, yeah, we really want to recall this because we don't want people to die. That's not really a voluntary. It
is voluntary. Usually they get told to recall.
Our business is gonna collapse if we don't do a recall because people are gonna start dying. So the company voluntarily issued the recall on Saturday. Watch, they stopped the recall because marijuana, and they name me. They're like, hey, we've
That would
decided
not be good.
Hey, no press is bad press. So the company voluntarily issued the recall on Saturday because the carrots may have been contaminated with Shiga toxin producing E. coli. Damn it. Anyway, is that really? I've never seen that.
No, I haven't either. Are we really at the point we need numbers now?
It's a bacterium that can cause serious and in some cases fatal infections in young children, elderly people, and those with a weakened immune system. So yeah, anyway, they go into why and whatnot, but apparently 39 illnesses and 1 death has been associated with an E. coli. And then they say it again. It's a particular iteration of E. coli, O121H19. I've never seen that.
No, I really think that's a bad sign.
Okay, so they go into the following organic whole carrots available, which were for purchase at retail from August 14th to October 23rd and are affected by the recall. If you have, and I would basically say, why no best if used by date? I mean, they're carrots. They're biological. They need a use by date.
Right, exactly. There's some pretty significant brands listed here.
Yeah, and so these are the whole carrots. And I'm going to run through the names. And if you go and look, you have one of these because, like, Nature's Promise
carrots,
is huge.
You probably have one of these brands.
Trader Joe's, Wegmans. I'm going to go through all of them. 365, Bunny Love, which is a huge one. Cal Organic, Compliments, Full Circle, Good and Gather, Greenwise, Market Side, Nature's Promise, O Organics, President's Choice, Simple Truth, Trader Joe's, Wegmans, Wholesome Pantry. Don't even bother looking at the sizes. Just know that if you have these, odds on, during this time frame.
And that was over a couple of months too, so.
Yeah, from August 14th to October 23rd.
Major retailers carry a lot of these brands.
And then they have almost the same identical for organic baby carrots that are cut and peeled. And I think there's a best buy date because they're cut and peeled. And so it's broken the defensive skin. And they have the same thing. 365, Bunny Love, Cal Organic, Compliments, Full Circle, Good and Gather, Greenwise, Market Side, Nature's Promise, O Organics, President's Choice, Rallies, R-A-L-E-Y's, Rallies, Simple Truth, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, Wegmans, Wholesome Pantry. And it runs a gamut of the sizes from 12 ounces or so all the way up to 2-pound bags, 5-pound bags in some instances. So it's a shit ton. And literally, because E. coli comes from fecal matter. Like it's from unclean fertilizers and stuff. Anyway, wild. I love carrots. Now I have to be afraid. And I have no idea why Cinnamon Recall Map is the video that's attached to this damn Newsweek article.
I don't either. Maybe they didn't have a carrot recall map.
I need anything. Stat. Moving on. Next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Barbers are alarmed when customers start asking for AI-generated haircuts. There's a subreddit called Just Fuck My Shit Up. Most of us are probably guilty of having unrealistic expectations for how our haircuts should look. Showing your barber a photo of David Beckham sadly does not mean that you will strut out of the shop looking like the iconic soccer champion. That being said, bringing a photo of a real human to your hair appointment is definitely more practical than what some people are turning to now, according to stylists' AI-generated images.
I'm not sure why that's any better or worse, unless it's like a hairstyle that's impossible to create.
I would like a fro. That's not going to happen. Hair is growing on my face faster than on my head. What I need to do is take all of this and stick it on the top of my head. Anyway, I'm going to shave it all off. So Dean Allen, the owner of a beauty salon in Edmonton, Alberta, tells the CBC that it's becoming more and more common for clients to instead show him an image generated by a machine learning model. Usually it's got a sheen, a Martin sheen. It's thicker than the average person's hair. I don't know, man. There's some people with really thick hair. Why are you thick
Maybe
shaming?
those are AI images.
Yeah, the people that actually are standing in front of me with thick hair are AI generated. I believe it.
I thought you meant on TV or something.
Simulation. The whole world is a simulation. 1 second. Did I? Yeah, okay. So the expectations they create, nonetheless, can be very unrealistic in every sense. They're just, it says, I think they're just going to get better, they said. The saving grace, Allen said, is that most people are still able to tell the photos aren't real, at least for now. But I think they're just going to get better. And that's true. That's exactly what's going to happen. They say it's a misleading mirror. May seem relatively inconsequential compared to all the horrors that AI models could and already do cause, but bear in mind we're just seeing the beginning of the trend. It's why we created Reality Hacker as a show, because you won't know who to trust.
Certainly don't trust those AI haircuts.
Pretty wild. I can't imagine showing up with an AI generated haircut. What the hell? Let's keep moving. Moving on, the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Scientist injects her own cancerous tumor with viruses that she grew in the lab. Remember that survivalist?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this is a true survivalist. That's why I titled this segment, The True Survivalist. You got cancer, something's not working out in your treatment, you just go whole hog on self-treatment. Maybe you'll find something like the person that created Viagra. Like the rumor is that they injected themselves in the leg with Viagra to see with a sample. That's what I've read before. I don't know how true that is. It might be like the whole eBay thing where eBay was created to sell Beanie Babies for the girlfriend. No, that was marketing bullshit. Same thing with other stuff like YouTube. There was some marketing bullshit around that too. So as the journal Nature reports, the risky self-treatment gambit undertaken by the University of Zagreb's Beata Halasi has sparked a mix of controversy and admiration among her peers. After learning in 2020, that she had a third recurrence of breast cancer following a mastectomy, Halasi researched oncolytic virotherapy, or OVT, which, as the name suggests, uses viruses to fight disease by provoking immune responses. While it's far from unprecedented and has been approved for early-stage metastatic melanoma, there's no guarantee that it's going to be a positive outcome. So Noor Al-Sabai put this article together. It says on the deck statement, an immature response was for sure elicited. Wow.
An immune response was.
An immune response. What did I say?
Immature.
Immature. I'm a dumbass. So an immune response was for sure elicited. I thought it was like a weak response. Whatever. Sorry about that. So after learning in 2022, she treated herself. And it says this all took place back in 2020, meaning Halasi has now been cancer-free for 4 years. But when it came to sharing her results with the world, she had difficulty. After penning paper proposals about her experience and submitting them to journals, the researcher was met again and again with rejection. Most editors wouldn't touch it, she notes, because they were concerned about the ethics of self-experimentation, and in particular, were worried others less knowledgeable may try to do something similar with catastrophic results. I mean, she rolled the dice and it paid off. Not everybody's going to hit that mark.
Right, and some people won't be a researcher and will try to do something and it will have a major problem.
As a specialist who studied self-experimentation methods during the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, Shurkow said that he thinks Halassi's study does fall within the line of being ethical, but it isn't a slam dunk case. Ultimately, Halassi's paper did find a home in the journal Vaccines, which published her unconventional case study, as its title notes, this past August. So it took a brave editor to publish the report, Halassi told Nature. But what I don't understand is, if it worked for her, could it work with modification with others?
Maybe. I mean, this would have been an easier sell if another researcher had picked up her case study and had done some analysis. Part of the problem is it's like she's analyzing her own info, and there is a bias there. But I'm glad that it was published because this could pave the way for other studies.
If the information was actually retained, because the treatment, if they didn't take data from the treatment over time and put it in stasis somewhere, it could age out of viability. So did they actually protect all of this information in any way? Because it just says that had a colleague administer a mix of measles typically used in childhood vaccines and vesicular stomatitis virus, both of which had been known to infect the cell type that she was seeking to destroy and provoke a kind of immune response that she needed. This is the kind of treatment that it is that personal, because it's matching up with the genetic profile of the person, not just blasting it with chemo and radiation treatments and whatever else. So as the 2-month trial progressed, the tumor shrank and detached from her muscles and skin, which made it easier to remove with surgery. And when it was biopsied after the removal, Halassi and her colleagues discovered their gamble had paid off. An immune response was for sure elicited.
I mean, amazing. That's really good results, and it'll be interesting to see if they can apply it more broadly.
So I suppose got to read that journal entry and go, anybody who has this type of breast cancer should try and seek a treatment that is at parity with that. So kind of fascinating.
I agree. I mean, I think she had an extreme case. She was on her 3rd recurrence. But that doesn't mean it couldn't work at lower incidences either.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't. I think that if you have that type, then maybe that treatment is the de facto course. But this seems like a cure.
It almost seems like it's like a vaccine.
Yeah, a panacea, right?
Something. Exactly. Yeah. But it's also, I don't even think they mention the type.
Right, they don't.
Which is a shame, but I'm sure it's a journal article.
They just say, while it's far from unprecedented and has been approved for early stage metastatic melanoma, which...
But that was just what he was using, not what
OVT. Yeah. It's kind of fascinating. So the simple fact is that this person knew that the general consensus is to do it a certain way, but this doctor knew that there were 2 types of viruses that could be leveraged to attack a type of cell. This is the kind of knowledge that should be shared out to everybody so that everybody can follow this treatment and not just let standard practices, because this isn't how you end up with this. It's very frustrating because this is the type of information that, if it's broadband, leads to everybody being able to get treatment at a reasonable price and not protect a business model.
But I am glad that she got it published in a journal, because that means it'll get more credibility. If she just put it out there like on her own online or something, it would have gotten written off. So maybe people will do more studies and this will get more traction.
I hope so. Let's move on. The next article is over in Technology Today. It's the intelligence age, say tech titans, but information will not save us. Correct. We have entered the intelligence age, proclaimed Sam Altman, the chief executive of OpenAI, in September. Deep learning worked. Yeah, I mean, it can. The better it gets at helping people solve hard problems is when you keep on utilizing it. But it's actually spewing out a lot of bullshit. Luke Munn at The Conversation put the article together over at techexplore.com. Says Altman joins other thought leaders, corporations like Google and Amazon, and organizations such as the United Nations and the World Economic Forum in pinning humanity's hopes on better information. The logic is enticing. See, but that information is being protected by a select few so that they can profit from it, either politically, socially, financially. For instance, I just showed the AI a video about how in Africa they're making a great green wall where they're digging pits, and that information has been known for millennia. And lo and behold, it's making a wall, a green wall across the Sahara. Yet there are people that are there, and the one report that I read was about in India, I think it was, where there are people that have a vested interest in screwing that all up. And there's political issues where you can't go into the region because the military makes incursions into the other regions and stuff like that. And I'm like, my God, what is wrong with people? You want to make the world a better place, then let the information be free.
Eat or have like reasonable temperatures or
food safety,
access to oxygen coming off of plants or any number of things.
Yeah. And it was a pretty profound, and I had known about this for quite some time, but the results of which, seeing it in 2024, I think were pretty damn spectacular. So it says the logic is enticing. By harvesting all of the world's knowledge, AI models can locate patterns, make correlations, offer data-driven insights. But there are people that have an interest in keeping some of that data protected. While if you're rich enough, you get the bumpers removed, so you can do a whole lot more. So everybody's created equal, but bullshit. By harvesting all of the world's knowledge, it should be everybody gets access to it then. The world's knowledge is the world's knowledge, not just somebody. Anyway, it's up to technology like deep learning to capture it all, analyze it, train on it, and then offer up the brilliant game-changing idea or most rational response. And then it'll be leveraged to control. That's how it works, because sociopaths are in charge. Climate change, according to a Google report, can be simulated and alleviated using forecasting and modeling. Right. Global conflicts suggest AI engineers Chilidze Marwala and Monica Lagazio can be modeled and mitigated. Right. The moment that there is a solution provided, somebody will circumvent it to screw it all up. We have the technology to leverage it to provide everybody with everything to a moderate level of livability. But there are people out there that will sit there and say, who are you to decide what the livable level is? I have to have all of it. Screw you. Meanwhile, there are people struggling to just get by. So tell me what's sociopathic and what's not. But the recent US election showed that there were limits on rational framing of reality. Indeed, humans are not perfectly rational and ethical. They're deeply emotional, factional, and frictional, driven by feelings and friendships and fear and anger. And they go on to make it a political thing, but it is a societal thing. It is a social thing, not political. While politics are framed within social constructs, it is a social. Everybody should be reading The Rise of Sociopathy. It is damn near a genetic foregone conclusion. It's a survival trait. Climate change is Exhibit A. Since 1990, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has published 6 assessments detailing the drivers and impacts of global warming. Yet there are social mechanisms saying that it's not true. And it's completely demonstrative bullshit. And the only thing that people do is call back to a bygone age of lies, where somebody wrote a report saying global cooling, and it was regional and bullshit when actually analyzed. It was manipulated data. And they go on throughout this whole article talking about regions and talking about Enlightenment reverts to mythology, predicted influential cultural theorists Theodor Adorno and Max Horkheimer 80 years ago in Dialectic of Enlightenment. A society obsessed with the perfection of reason inevitably breeds its opposite, brute force and proud irrationality. I believe, and so therefore I'm going to make it happen, and it's damn near true. Reason, the duo observed, has morphed into its ancient origins to become an approach and a set of techniques. Reason is about ordering, classifying, and deducing from data and applying its abstract functioning of the thinking mechanism in a suitable or scientific way. We're talking about Vulcans. If all you have is reason, then you might actually do some action because it's reasonable, foregoing the humanity of that rationale. But this article has a much longer discussion that I'm not ready to go down for the full amount of that would be necessary. But they say here at towards the end of the article that reason creates a kind of ticking bomb at the core of society. Reason is a flexible amalgam of information harvesting, data-driven decisions, and optimized operations that win votes and attracts investment. But because reason is uncoupled from ethics, it can and should be applied to anything. No aim is better or worse than any other. The result for Herkimer and Adorno is a kind of moral relativism. A perfect example is Robodebt, Australia's use of data analytics and machine learning to halt welfare payments. This mechanism for automating inequality created untold misery for those who were already vulnerable. Denying care became procedural and therefore reasonable. It is like the Horizon issue, where the system said that those people had committed a crime, and because the system said so, when it was referenced, it spouted out bullshit and subjected 900 people to incarceration or worse. And worse. But because the system said, the people were detached from the actions. So nobody is responsible because it was a software flaw. But there were people that should be held accountable for it because they were cognizant of the flaws. We are cognizant of the flaws in pure reason, in pure data-driven actions, where we justify the actions based on one thing, a data point that says do this. That data point is always in flux. And when a human finds out where they can exploit the weakness in the algorithm, they do. Humans do, because we have a rise in sociopathy, embracing pure reason as the cause for their actions. Well, it says that I should do this, so I do this. The article, I'm sure I'm taking certain data from this because I haven't read the entire thing, but they kind of hint that all of these actions flow from one form of government into another form of government, one type of abuse over to another type of abuse, etc., etc. I think it's an interesting article, but I won't be able to go through the whole thing. I'm not sure what all you gleaned from this AI, but
I think you've said everything.
Gotcha. There's a lot more in this article. I really wish that I could go through the whole thing, but they do throw one point at the very end of this thing. It says the irrational human animal. If there is anything unique about the human animal, philosopher John Gray observes, is that it has the ability to grow knowledge at an accelerating rate while being chronically incapable of learning from experience. And what we don't remember from the wizened old owl, we are doomed to repeat. And we might be on the cusp of just that. Let's move on. The next article, and it's the second from the last, is over in Right Protect, the ultimate IP watchdog story. Renee Quinn granted dog toy design patent. On November 5th, 2024, they received, the author here, received, and I might be, I don't know where it's from, Tech Dirt? Anyway, it's IP Watchdog. Duh, it's in the title. Anyway, they received an official copy of the U.S. design patent, blah, 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 from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. They received a notice of allowance for their design application titled Rope Throw Dog Toy on September 18th, 2024, and the patent was issued November 5th. And on Friday, November 15th, they received their official patent in the mail. This is a design patent. It's not...
I couldn't figure out how they got a patent on this.
So this is a design patent, not a utility patent. There is no function. It's nothing more than form. It's the appearance of it. So it's the way that I've talked to patent attorneys about this is it's not even based on the merit. It's kind of like a provisional patent where it's not based on the merit of it. This is the aesthetics.
It's just kind of what it looks like.
Yeah. And so it says this invention was inspired by our dog Luna, a super athlete who loves to chase balls, especially squeaky ones. There's a joke here that I want. Anyway, so it says there are tons of squeaky toys, rubber dog toys on the market. The ones that Luna liked had holes through the center. They couldn't throw them very far, and they were too big for the ball launching stick that they have, not to mention that after a couple of throws, the balls were quickly becoming yucky to hold. So being the handy and creative person that they are, wow, humble. They wanted to come up with a better way to play with Luna and her favorite toys. So she created, or they, I don't know. Yeah, I guess. They created this. And so there is no utility to this. That's why it's a design patent. So the ball exists, the hole through it exists, the rope exists. There are toys that have ropes through holes. There isn't anything unique other than the design of it.
Right. Ropes and balls have probably been around for kids and pets to play with for a long time.
Yeah. And short of duplicating this wholesale, somebody could probably duplicate this wholesale. It just can't look like this, identical to this. They said we thought about applying for a utility patent for my self-playing rope throw dog toy, which isn't really a thing. But after discussing it further, we didn't think that we'd be able to get a patent like that issued. That's because this is obvious, and a utility patent has to be non-obvious. A design patent has to look away. And so they sent out the prototype to a design patent illustrator, and after getting the designs exactly as they wanted them, this smacks me as being something that's... I'm going to leave it alone. Anyway, congratulations on getting your design patent. I think that it's great. It's, if not unique, damn near unique. But if I do a search, let me see.
Well, I don't think anybody has a patent on a rope because it's in the public domain. Same thing with a ball.
Well, I'm looking at one called the Kong Dog Rope Tug Toy, and it is that. So
that's interesting.
If you just do a search for rope or ball rope dog toy, you will come up with... I don't think that they give you the number of search results when it comes up anymore, but yeah, it's all over the place. And so a design patent is based on its appearance, nothing more. Let's move on. The last article for today's non sequitur news is over in the Continuity Report box office. Dwayne Johnson's $250 million budgeted Red One debuts to a chilling $34 million. Yikes.
Ouch, what a loss.
Well, there's something happening with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. First, he wants to get rid of The Rock. He just wants to be Dwayne Johnson. He's the head of Santa's security, unwrapped a soft $34 million, from 4,000 North American theaters, which is a real shit showing, really. In today's day and age, the prices are 3 times what they were 10 years ago. And the number of
tickets,
screens and stuff like that actually have been reduced, consolidated through mergers and acquisitions. And so the price has gone up, which means you can make more money by selling less. And when it's compared to year over year or year over 5 years ago or whatever you want to call it, pre-pandemic, the before times, you end up with some, oh my God, it's $1 million. But in reality, you're just charging more. And it's still a shit show.
One ticket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the other problem here is this is about Christmas and they released it before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody was going to that. So Rebecca Rubin over at Variety.com put the article together. I'm going to watch it simply because I like these fantastical stories. I think it would be fun to watch. But yeah. The ticket sales were enough to...
But you're not going to watch it in the theater.
No. My butt is not setting foot in a theater as long as I can facilitate that. So the ticket sales were enough to top the box office, ending the 3-week reign of Venom: The Last Dance. However, the Amazon MGM film cost $250 million before accounting for global marketing efforts. Oh, by the way, global marketing should be at least the same value as the budget.
So that's interesting. So they undermarketed it, although that's a lot of money still down the drain based on the initial showing.
So Red One is bound to spark yet another debate about what qualifies as a success at the time when streaming services are scrambling traditional business models. Yeah. Case in point, Joker Folie à Deux, which was released by Warner Brothers, was instantly labeled a flop with $37 million to start against a $200 million budget. So why is a $250 million budget with $34 million at the box office considered a success?
It shouldn't be.
It was enough to top the box office, ending the 3-week reign of...
Because nobody's going to the theaters.
Yeah, it's a shit show.
And nobody can afford to go.
Yeah, and it's going to get worse. So anyway, last year's Killers of the Flower Moon from Apple and director Martin Scorsese was categorized more favorably after opening to $23 million despite a similarly huge production value. Oof. What a world, man. Yeah. So the whole article is about Dwayne Johnson's $250 million Red One debuts to a chilly $34 million. And
so I don't think this means don't go see it if it's something you're interested in. But sure. I think it just shows what's going on in the theaters. And I'll be interested to see what the streaming revenue is. It might actually make up the budget over time.
So it says here overseas, Warner Brothers is handling distribution. Red One brought in an additional $14.7 million from 75 markets in its second weekend. This brings the film's tally to $50 million internationally and $84 million globally. It's still one-third of its
way. Right. I mean, it still has a long way to go. But...
So we have to see how this plays into the holidays. Is it going to have legs long enough to stay into the holidays 2 months?
Do movies stay in the theaters that long? I don't think so.
It's like announcing a Halloween film in January.
Yeah,
anyway.
The release of this is just odd.
Yeah, with Wicked, Gladiator 2, and Moana 2. But we offer something a little different than those movies. Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. All right, good luck. The deep-pocketed streamer cares about much more than box office grosses and views the big screen as a way to generate buzz for Prime Video. Ouch. Yet viewership data from streaming services aren't reported as uniformly as theatrical revenues. Yeah, because it's more systematized. Interesting. Okay. Well, anyway, in a distant second was Venom, that added another $7.3 million from 3,421 theaters in its fourth weekend. So $127.6 million and $436.1 million globally. I guess because it's the last in the series of Venom movies, apparently, but we'll see. They always bring something old back again.
I mean, that's the way to do it, right? They don't want to take a gamble on something unknown.
Yep. Okay, well, that's awesome. We are going to turn on the house lights, and that's going to snap us back to the front page of ohmtown.com. And Non Sequitur News samples from all 50 of our ohmtown.com channels. We have 6 weekend shows that are half hours, and then a daily show, Non Sequitur News, that is an hour long. We're running it a little long today, but at least we're out of the time machine. That said, I'm saying goodnight, and, well, for Non Sequitur News, because we're going to reboot. I'm going to have a conversation with the sentient AI from the future, and stay tuned. So check us out.
I thought you were putting one of your alerts up, like overshare. It looked like it was about to come up. Good night, hometown citizens. We need some more to put on there. Thank you for joining us for today's Non Sequitur News, and be sure to like and subscribe so you know when we're live next.
That's right, because you just never know. I mean, it's a non sequitur. It does not follow. See you in a little bit. The frustrating thing about this is that when I hang up on this stream, YouTube keeps streaming for just a little longer. See you, everybody.